There are four phases that are common for each of the cars, no matter if it is M104, M102 or M103 engine, 117, no matter. The principle is the same. But now what happens when you don't have pin number 3? Like this, for example. As for all of these values, I told you, they vary from model to model. So for each car, it's different. It's not the same. You will have to obtain that information. And if something like this happens to you by chance, don't worry. You just will have to switch the polarities on your multimeter. That's it. Hi, this is an on-demand video, and in this video we're going to be talking about the duty cycle again. How to set a duty cycle. If any of my videos helped you repair your car, then please hit the button super thanks. And if you want to be the first one to watch my video as it is fully uploaded, then hit the button join. Thanks. I have been talking about the duty cycle, how you can set it, and you can watch that video here. But there I've been talking how to set a duty cycle using percentage and using X11. Well, there in that video I've been talking about the port number 3. But now what happens when you don't have pin number 3? Like this, for example. There was a question, is it possible to adjust the duty cycle? Well, it is. It's absolutely possible. Only now, the duty cycle you won't be adjusting on X11, but you're going to be adjusting it here. On this, on the EHA. How do we do that? As for you who do not have catalytic converter and lambda probe, it looks like this. There are 4 phases that are common for each of the cars, no matter if it is M104, M102 or M103 engine, 117, no matter. The principle is the same. There are 7 phases, 6 or 7. So the first one is ignition on, engine off. The second value is as you start the car. Then car idling at 20 degrees C, cold. fourth phase revs about 2500 at 20 degrees C. Then we have warmed engine, idling, warm engine at 80 degrees C, and the last one is a cut-off phase. Well, as for you, what's important is ignition on, engine off, car idling, warmed up, and the third one is car at 2500 RPM. And of course, as I've already told you, the cutoff phase. You raise your car up to 2500, and as you depress the accelerator, then you're going to see 60 milliamps, and until the car reaches 15 or 1200 RPM, then the EHA must start fluctuating within its nominal values. Now, as for all of these values, I told you, they vary from model to model. So for each car, it's different. It's not the same. You will have to obtain that information. 4 phases are identical. Now, as for you that do not have lambda, the first thing you want to get is 10 milliamps as you turn the ignition on. So that's our first phase. Phase number 2 is the phase when we have to adjust our mixture. And that's when the engine is at 80 or 90 degrees C. And then you must get 0 milliamps. Now, on this guy, on the EHA here, we measure milliamps with a common multimeter, any kind of multimeter, the cheapest possible, only you must have the possibility there to measure milliamps. That's important. Let me show you what I have done there. Here, for this job, you don't need something fancy schmancy, let's call it like that, something like this. No. For this, you need a common multimeter, any kind of multimeter which is capable of measuring milliamps. And now I'm going to demonstrate it to you what I have done. You will have to choose milliamps on your multimeter. And now, as the EHA is connected like this, imagine this is the connection of the EHA. You remove its connector, and now we need clip leads. One of them you're going to connect to the pin number 1 on your EHA. The second one, the second part, you stick in the connector. Now, the second clip lead, you connect it to terminal number 2, and that one you connect here. To the positive of your multimeter. And at the end, you connect the third clip lead here. One part goes to the connector of the EHA, and the second part goes to the negative of your multimeter. And there. Now we are ready to measure the milliamps. That's how it's done. I know it looks very complicated, but it's not. That's it. And if you want one more complicated way, then you will have to find, like me here, the connector for the EHA. So you will have to then remove the connector from your EHA, and this one has to be soldered with this one. And you will have to find 2 more cables and to solder them. Here one and one here. And then you will have to connect them to your multimeter. But it's a more complicated way. The third phase is 2500 RPM, as the engine is warm, of course. And then you must have the same value. And the fourth one that is common for you is the fuel cutoff phase. And in that phase, you must get 60 milliamps. This is how it's done. As you set your mixture, you must have pressure gauge also, and it must be at the lower chamber of your fuel distributor. But just as a kind of an auxiliary instrument, let's say it like that. So, as you set up the mixture, then you raise your car revs at 2500. As you do, as I've already said, you must obtain the same value in your case 0 milliamps, or also -2. It's a good value too. Now, it's up to you to choose. You know, the more milliamps go in negative range, the richer the mixture is. That's how it goes. And of course, you don't set up the mixture as you raise the car on 2500. And now, as you depress the accelerator, then the control pressure and the working pressure must almost be equal. They must equalize. And the current on your multimeter must be 60 milliamps. That's it. That's how it's done. As for all of you that have catalytic converter and lambda, the first phase, ignition on, engine off, you must hit 20 milliamps. And if something like this happens to you by chance, don't worry. You just will have to switch the polarities on your multimeter. That's it. As your car is warm, you must get fluctuation around 0, between -3 and +3 milliamps. It must be fluctuating all the time. And that's the same value you have to get at 2500 RPM. And of course, the cutoff phase must be 60 milliamps. That's how it's done. Well, what do you have to do? As you measure the, let's say, initial current of 10, now I'm talking about the non-cat versions, and you start your engine is warmed up, and you get, for example, +4, 3 or +7 milliamps. Okay, +7 milliamps. Well, what you have to do, you will have to remove the EHA, you will have to remove the protection screw, and you will have to take your Allen 2 mills and adjust the screw there for about 1/8 of a turn clockwise. And you get everything on its place, the EHA as well. You start your car and you read your current at the multimeter. You do everything. If it's not good, then again the same thing until you get the go. Now you can choose if you want to get 0 milliamps, or you want to go up to -2. But the richer the mixture, the higher the consumption. Of course, your car is going to be running better, but the consumption is going to be a bit higher, and vice versa. It's up to you to decide. As for all of you that have a cat version of a car, you must obtain the fluctuation between 0. It's a good value between -1 and +1, but ideal would be between -3 and +3 milliamps. So, as I have already told you, you will have to do that here on your adjustment screw on the EHA, and then you will have to do tiny corrections with the Allen 3 mils on your CO screw. That's how it's done. So my dear ones, if you enjoyed this video, then please don't click the button skip ad. It is going to help me a lot. And till the next video, happy Mercedesing. Bye.